Hi everyone, welcome to my A Conversation with Patrick. Well, tonight we have a very special guest. Now, I was on holiday in France a couple of weeks ago and I interviewed this gentleman, Mr. Paul Haskell, and so many of you fell in love with him. He told us stories of Strictly Come Dancing, being one of the first hairdressers out there to really start on that, plus his journey as a hairdresser from salon to television. But of course, he's been involved in so many more things, movies and so on. And I thought it would be a great idea to have Paul on again as a part two. So we've never done this before. And believe it or not, I'm away on holiday again. Now, I know it sounds like I'm always on holiday, but I'm not. It's actually, we've taken our daughter away for a couple of days and we're here in Oxford at the moment. So we go back to London tomorrow. So we've been sort of busy having a look around the area. So Paul Haskell, as I say, started off in hairdressing, started off in a salon, and bit by bit he transitioned into makeup, into movies, and into television. So what I'd like to do, without further ado, please, let's bring Paul to screen. Hi, Paul.
Good evening.
Good.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now.
No.
Are we all right?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I was just saying, Paul, there was so much love for you last time that you did the show, and I know that you enjoyed it. And I said to you, I stopped you, and I said, Paul, let's do this as a two-parter. So
Fantastic.
Just a quick synopsis. We started off at the beginning from salon, transitioned to television. We talked about Strictly Come Dancing. We talked about you being one of the instrumental people behind the scenes for hair on the very first Strictly Come Dancing, and then transition to there. But let's leave all that for the moment. I'd love to talk about dancing on ice. Can you tell us about that?
Well, what happened was after being in charge of Strictly, I had a phone call from MTV, and they said, would you like to come and be in charge of the hair for Dancing on Ice? And would you like to look after Torvill and Dean, who, for anybody that doesn't know Torvill and Dean, they're sort of national treasures, really. They're European world.
You mean if you've lived under a rock?
Dancing. Yes. And so I was a huge fan. And like many UK people over the age of 40, I stayed up and watched them at the Olympics and everything like that. So it was an incredible opportunity to go and work with them and on a TV show. So I went to...
It must have been incredible for them as well. I mean, here they are coming out of almost like semi-retirement in regards to the way that people remembered them from dancing the bolero at the Winter Olympics. And here they are on a primetime television slot. How did they feel? How did you manage to calm them?
Well, I came in on sort of season 3 or 4. There had already been a few seasons. So they wanted a new hairdresser on the show. Trevor Sorbie had actually done Jane on one season, and I remember him quoting that it was the most unusual job that he had ever done, styling someone's hair to look good on the ice and looking good in an evening gown to present. And so I thought, well, I'm in very good company because I'm a huge fan of Trevor Sorbie, and I thought if he found it difficult, well, then God help me. I forgot what the question was.
No. I was just wondering, I mean, here you are styling two absolute British icons. Yeah. Not only that, but you've got to style the hair for ice dancing. So yes, that must come with all sorts of warnings and danger, to do this sort of thing.
Well, I didn't realise. So I was looking at it from a Strictly Come Dancing point of view, and I remember going there and they said to me, "Oh, by the way, don't let anything fall on the ice." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" "Well, you can't have anything fall on the ice, like a pin." And I was like, "Really?" He said, "Well, yeah, because if someone skates over it, they're going to fall over. And if they're carrying someone over their head, it's going to be pretty dangerous." So I was like, oh my gosh. And so when it came to doing the first show, and we had to do this big opening number, and there was about 25 people skating around the ice. and Chris and Jane were coming down from this thing from the ceiling, and it was all very exciting. And I can't remember if it was true or not, but I can remember someone saying to me, "Oh, by the way, we've got some fire eaters as well. Is the hair fireproof?" And I went, "Yes." And so when it came to doing that live show, either I was going to kill two national treasures live on or their hair was going to go up in smoke, because there was about 500 gallons of Elnet flying around the ice. And I can remember standing at the monitor going, "Oh!" It was one of the most scariest nights of my life. But I mean, from a hairdressing perspective, everything had to be so secure. We had to cross pins. That was the thing. Everything was crossed, and lots of little elastic bands which we used to pin into. But I used to go around frantically checking everybody before we went live, because I was so paranoid, and we had accessories and wigs and all sorts of going on, and you know, it was quite stressful.
And I think people don't understand, do they, that often, because timelines are so short, often you're styling the hair, if I'm correct, sometimes first thing in the morning, then they might rehearse all day, then they might sleep on the hair because they've got to relax, or they might have physiotherapy. Well, then, of course,
that was the big thing that was a shock to me on Dancing on Ice compared to Strictly, was that on Dancing on Ice, they're all injured. Well, most of the celebrities had some injury, because the way that the male skaters lift the female skaters, they all get rib issues. And so what would happen is we'd have an hour to do their hair, but very, very often our second AD would come in and go, "Oh, you've got to go now, you've got to go to physio." And many a time I had team members that were doing their hair while they were having physio, actually lying on the floor doing their hair. It was crazy. So sometimes we only had like 20 minutes to do their hair, because you know, they were literally being put back together. They had this amazing physio called Sharon, and she used to put them back together so they would fit to perform live, and it was incredible.
I remember, I mean, I know there's so much pressure when these things are going on, and of course everything's got to look absolutely perfect by the time it goes to camera. Otherwise, so did anything disastrous happen? Can you remember anything during the whole Dancing on Ice? Because you were very, very involved in it for quite some time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did it up to when it finished, I think in 2015, 16. I mean, it's come back now. But anything disastrous?
So no hair pieces that flew out or anything like that? Nothing wrong?
No, because I was perfect. So, you know...
You know what, Paul? That's a perfect testament to your ability. And I would agree with you, because I remember watching it, and I can never remember anything really moving, and they were being flung from one end of the ice rink.
Because if it had, my team would have had the wrath of Paul. And I was a good boss. I was very calm. And, you know, it was like we ran it like clockwork. And I knew everybody felt very safe. It was about making the skaters feel really safe. And that was the most important thing to me.
I should imagine so. In fact, we've got a photo, I think. It must be a photo shoot that you did with Jane and Christopher. Let's have a little look. So here they are, very relaxing, nowhere near ice. That looks beautiful.
It was so lovely, because it was so great to do a shoot with them without me worrying whether, you know, something was going to fly out. So this was lovely, and it was a lovely, relaxed shoot. She looks amazing.
You know, Paul, I asked you to send me a few things, and I got this photo, our next photo. Let's have a look. Let's see if our viewers recognise this young lady.
Well, that was
Jerry
Strictly.
Hall.
Yeah, I had
that
to look
was
after
Strictly,
Jerry.
was it?
Yeah, that was on Strictly. I had to look after Jerry Hall, who was quite incredible.
Well, I mean, that's a beautiful photo, but tell us a little bit about Jerry.
Well, I think a lot of hairdressers who've done photo shoots, sometimes you work with people that you style their hair beautifully, you get them in front of the camera, you turn around, and then you look, and they've literally ran their fingers through the hair. Well, I've never met someone who messes with their hair so much. And in the end, I gave up, because that hair, I mean, she knows how to work that hair. I mean, it's a trademark. So, you know, I used to style it for her and then go, do you know what, just let her get on with it. And she knew how to work her hair amazingly. She was great. So she was an absolute character to work with. Yeah.
Oh, no, fun. I'm sure. And you know, over the years, I've had models like that, you know, you go and do their hair and they're fiddlers, and you turn around and 5 minutes later, they've pulled half of it out.
That's the thing.
I think
I was going to say, you don't tell Jerry Hall not to mess with her hair.
No. And I think you're right. I mean, these people are such icons. They really know how to manage their look. And trust me, Jerry doesn't want to go out looking bad. So I can imagine once you've done a great foundation, it was all about her working.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And let's have a look at the next photo, because we've got another photo too. Now, to everybody watching, Paul, oh, actually, Randy, can we get it'll come out on the screen. Now, Paul, just tell us, because for all of everybody out there, of course, you've been so involved with hair, but makeup is also a passion for you, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, hair comes first, but makeup I loved, and I love to be able to do. I used to do a lot of shoots doing makeup. And this is probably my favorite image I've ever done, really.
Well, we're hoping the image is going to come full screen in a minute.
So we can see it.
We're having a little... You've got one eye, very seductive.
I've got one eye. well, the story of that, Patrick, I mean, like, I think a lot of hairdressers that have done shoots will know what it's like sometimes. You do a shoot, you can spend the whole day and you're not really happy with the results. And then something happens. You get a little bit of magic that happens right at the end of the day. And all I did, I was having problems with her hair. So all I did was spray her hair down, slicked it back, add a little bit of more eye makeup. And then the photographer, we've got it.
Oh, there we go.
And I love the image. It's just a simple, timeless image, and it's you know, it's just one of those things that I think a lot of hairdressers have probably gone through on photo shoots, where you can work all day and then suddenly at the end, that's when you get the image.
It can happen. I often tell people when they're doing photo shoots, particularly on that last brush out, and again, you've just endorsed this, you know, that last brush out, you've got nothing to lose, have you, Paul? Just go for it. Brush it out, create a softness, create movement, and just go for it and see how many great photos you can get out of that last look of the day.
I mean, I tried everything that day, and in the end, I just slicked it back and she looked amazing. So sometimes, you know, I remember you saying less is more.
Yeah, always less is more, isn't it? But also you've got some great editorial shots. So let's have a look at a couple of the editorials that we've got here. So again, really fun looks.
Yeah, I mean, during that period where I was doing so many glitzy Saturday night shows and everything like that, I was also doing so much other stuff as well. I mean, I was about 6 or 7 years where I was absolutely demented. I worked so many jobs, but like, this was my passion. I loved doing these sort of editorial shots. I loved doing both. I did all the hair and makeup on all of this, actually. No, I love doing that sort of work.
It's beautiful, Paul. I mean, listen, you gave me so many things to choose from, and so I just chose a few little bits and pieces here because again, you know, it's you've got such a vast back catalogue. You know, Paul, you know, you often say, don't you, with when you're working on movies and on television, it's either feast or famine, isn't it?
Yes, and for me it was, I had a big feast and then I had a bit of a famine. And I think, like anybody that has, you know, what happens is, I think with work and career, you go along like that, and then suddenly you have a little bit of success and it goes whoosh. And then it can also come down quite quickly. And I think for all of us, sometimes, you know, there's other younger people that are coming through, and, you know, certainly in Saturday night TV, everybody wanted a piece of that. And, you know, that's what happens. And you sometimes have to dust yourself down, pick yourself up and reinvent yourself. You know? And then go to the Royal
TV Society Awards, I should think.
Well, that was a thing with the Dancing on Ice. We were the first. The RTS Awards are like one down from a BAFTA, and it's voted for by all people within the industry. And so we were the first. I guess we'd call Dancing on Ice a reality show, but we were because we were up against dramas, and so we were nominated, and then we won in. I've got it here actually. It's very dusty. Look, this is it.
Look at that.
I should do. Look at that. Yeah. And it was a very proud moment. And so we were the first reality show to win an RTS, which I'm really proud about.
Well,
it
you
was
know what?
great.
Congratulations, because I know, trust me, I know how hard that work is. And again, as I say, a lot of our viewers don't quite understand it, but it's literally, it's continuous all day. You go from highs to lulls to highs to lulls, and the pressure to get it right at that last second is all important.
Yeah, I mean, there were long days you work, but I thrived on that. I loved that pressure. I loved that.
And you were also involved in the MTV Awards as well, weren't you?
Yes, I used to work with a great makeup designer, Debbie Donnell, and she used to do a lot of big awards things. So we used to go to MTV. I used to do the MTV Awards. We used to do a thing called the Laureus World Sports Awards, and that was like the Oscars for sports people. And so we used to get to go all over the place with that, and yeah, that was quite funny. We had quite a funny thing that happened in Abu Dhabi. What happened was, as a team, you were given 4 room numbers with 4 nominated sports artists who they were up for nomination, and we'd go and do their hair. And so you would go and do the first one, and then you do their hair, pack your kit up, and then look at the next number, and you'd be running around this hotel in Abu Dhabi, which was the Emirates Palace, which is the biggest hotel in the world, I think. It's a huge place. So you used to go running up and down the corridors, and there'd all be these big bewildered hair and makeup artists with their suitcases trying to find the next room, because you know what hairdressers are like. We're rubbish at geography. And anyway, so I'd finished my 4th one, and then I had a phone call and from one of the makeup artists. She said, "Can you come to Mr. Spacey's room? We need a specific hair product." And Kevin Spacey was hosting the event.
Oh my God.
So I couldn't find his room. And I'm running up and down this corridor, and I'm sweating profusely. Anyway, I think I found his room, and I knock on the door, and Boris Becker, the German tennis player, opens the door, and I go, "You're not Kevin Spacey!" And I turned around and ran, and he must have wondered, who the hell is that nutter? So anyway, I fell into Kevin Spacey's room, and he's sitting behind this desk with a big fluffy white dressing gown with a big cigar on. And there was like 5 PAs running around, completely frantic. And in my complete panic, I stood there and I curtsied. And anyway, I gave him the product, and that was it. But that was the sort of crazy life I was living at the time.
And I hear that you didn't recognize Madonna.
Well, I got asked to go and work on just do some days on a film, W.E. It's a great movie.
Oh, I love the movie. I saw it.
Yeah. So anyway, I turn up thinking I'm just doing crowd room, and I get there and they say, "Oh no, you're on the main team. You're on the main bus." And I was like, "Oh no!" So I go on the bus, and I've got this actress who I've got to look after, who's got a big speaking part. I had a sort of the brief wasn't that detailed, and so I did her hair. We go onto set at the Criterion restaurant in Piccadilly. And so I walk in, and I'm standing there with the actress, and suddenly this girl comes up to me, who I think is a runner. And she comes up to me, she goes, "Make her hair bigger. Make her look like she's been to a beauty parlor." And I'm thinking, who the hell are you? And then I looked at her arms, and I thought, gosh, they look quite muscular. And I looked again, I thought, holy crap, it's Madonna. Madonna's talking to me, and she wants her hair bigger. And at that moment, I lost the ability to hold a comb, and I didn't really know what to do with myself. And so I'm trying to sort of do this hairdo, trying to make it bigger. And eventually, she came back, and she was tapping her feet, and she had her hands on her hips, and she said to me, "We're waiting on you." And I think she could see me like losing the plot, and she went, "No pressure," and she winked and walked off. And it was probably one of the most stressful things I've ever had happen to me. It was absolutely mad. And just another thing that happened that day, we went on to set, and she kept picking on me. She kept saying, "Make her hair." Anyway, this went on for a while. Anyway, we finished that scene, and they started filming another bit, and the cameras are rolling, and then someone's telephone went off. And which is a real no-no in the film industry, as you can imagine. And I'm thinking, oh, thank God that's not my phone. And this phone was like letting off all the ringtones that it had on this phone. It was very strange. And then I suddenly touched my pocket and it was my phone. It was vibrating. And I'd bought this new phone the previous day and it must have just went off. So I sort of had to I did this Michael Jackson moonwalk out some sliding doors of the Criterion restaurant and was standing on the pavement thinking, I think I got away with that one.
You know, you're talking about it being so stressful, but of course, I lost you away from London for quite a long time as you headed off to a beautiful island to film an amazing movie which had such a success, Mamma Mia.
Oh, I was very lucky. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Paul! I mean, that was incredible. How long were you away for?
We were in Croatia for 6 weeks.
Yeah, Croatia. That's right.
Yes. Well, we're on an island called Vis. And I was very lucky because, again, I just went along, to do a few background artists, and I ended up looking after all the dancers. There was a team of us that looked after the dancers. So, again, I was in my element, it's something that I could do in my shot. And, yeah, it was amazing. We had a wonderful time.
Didn't you have a moment where you wanted to burst into a big gay glitter ball?
Yes. It was one
Tell
of my...
our viewers.
Well, we were filming I don't know if anybody's watched Mamma Mia, there's a big finale at the end where they all come out dressed in ABBA costumes and then they sing ABBA songs. Well, it's very unusual that in a movie that all the cast are all together. So when they do this finale thing at the end, the whole cast are together. And I went on to set, and as I walked in, I stood there and Saint Cher is standing there, and Saint Meryl Streep is standing there, and Saint Julie Walters is standing, and Piers Brosnan and everything. And I nearly exploded into a ball of pink glitter. It was the gayest. I had gay overload. I didn't know what to do with myself, Patrick. And I'm normally really, really calm in situations like that. But it was just. And then Cher was up there singing, and it was like a whole day. It was like being at an all-day Cher concert, and dressed in ABBA clothes with 200 dancers really going for it. It was just the most astonishing thing. So yeah, it's one of my favorite moments ever.
Oh, yeah, I think things like that, you've got to pinch yourself, don't you, to say, am I really?
Yeah. Sometimes you forget when you're a jobbing, hairdresser or makeup artist, sometimes you don't appreciate it at the time. Because you're focusing on your job. And it's sometimes not till after you go, oh wow, that was really, really amazing.
There's so much diversity when you work in film and television. You're literally on. Well, here we go. You're on the cast set of Mamma Mia. You're in Croatia. You're filming this incredible show, and then next minute you're off on another movie with Mark Wahlberg. I mean, you couldn't get two more opposite.
Well,
events.
that was interesting because. That was a couple of years later, but the hair designer on that guy called I can't remember his name. Anyway,
that's all right. I'm putting you on the spot.
Giuliano Mariano, amazing, fantastic Italian hairdresser, and I met him on the movie. We just had a few words, what have you, and then spring forward 2 years, I had a phone call out the blue from Giuliano, and he said, "What are you doing next week?" And I said, "Nothing, the plan." He said, "Do you want to come and work on my film?" And I was like, "Really?" He went, "Yeah, come and work." And so it was the first time in my film career that I got to work on the main actors, like the full crew. And so for 5 months, I was on a film called Infinite, which is coming out next year, starring Mark Wahlberg. It was my first, like I said, my first credit, and seeing my work up on it, and it was an amazing experience. It was brilliant. It was fantastic.
Well, I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled to hear that your name actually is going to be up there. I mean, you've had so many amazing things happen, Paul.
Yeah.
What, if I could ask you, what advice would you give? So many people have this sort of starstruck image of working for television, working for movies and so on. What could you do a reality check for us, for some viewers that perhaps want to get into this sort of thing?
Gosh, I think if you want to particularly work in film, I mean, you've got to be prepared to work extraordinarily long hours. I mean, generally hair and makeup, we're the first in last out. So sometimes our call times can be as early as 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30. And you sometimes don't leave there till 11 o'clock midnight. I mean, you get paid good overtime, but in some ways you have to marry yourself to the job as well. I think it's about getting a good work-life balance, and I think that's something you've got to think about. You've got to think about the career or a relationship, and I think that's what you've got to really think about. I mean, it can be an incredible job to work in, but your career has to come first if you're going to work in film.
And also, it's not what you know. Sometimes it's who you know. So all of a sudden, you're getting rung up, as you have been done, as it happened to you, and you're getting rung up to go to other jobs halfway while you're through a job that you're already doing. So yes, it can be hard.
You've got to be careful. You've got to look after yourself. You've got to look after your health, because you can burn yourself out really quickly. And I'd learned that the first time round. So it's about getting a good work-life balance.
Yeah. And what would you say, as a trade, as hairdressers, what part of our trade do we use most when it comes to movies and television? Is it dressing hair? Is it cutting? Is it colouring? What do we have to really concentrate on?
Yeah, I think if you're working in film, you've certainly got to be able to do period hair. I think you can't just be a modern day hairdresser in film. You can end up specializing in that, but I think as someone going into the industry, you've got to know period hair, and the most important thing is wig dressing and wig work, particularly working with lace front wigs. You've got to know how to put them on and dress them, and it was one of the things that was my thing that I struggled with, being a salon hairdresser. And I'd recommend anybody that's thinking about it, get yourself on a course that teaches you film and TV, like wig dressing. That's the first thing.
And also, Paul, not only that, but wigs have become such a huge part of our industry now. I mean, you've only got to look at the celebrity red carpet and what's happening, and people are changing their looks all the time. And so these wigs are really here to stay. We're seeing such incredible embellishment now of them up, them down, all sorts of different things. Yeah,
and the good thing is that the quality of lace-fronted wigs now, you don't have to pay a fortune to get a lace front wig, and I think if you can get a couple of them and practice at home, but one of the key things is literally how to flatten down natural hair to put a wig on. That's the key thing in movies. You've got to get that hair so flat, so flat. And it's a real art. It's a real art.
After all this time, and I mean, you, as I say, you've spent several years now. I mean, I've watched you. I've seen you go from show to show, from movie to movie. I've seen you do incredible work. You're now. Life is almost going full circle for you, isn't it? With what you're doing. Tell our viewers what you're up to at the moment.
Well, when I finished the last movie, then my father had to go into hospital and have a new knee done, and so then I had to go. I literally went from working on the movie to 2 days later running a column of I don't know how many clients. My dad's a fast hairdresser, and I had to try and do all of his clients, and that was quite a shock to the system, having to run a column, because I hadn't done it for a very long time. But what I discovered was that how much I enjoyed it, and I think having done the movie, I realized that I didn't like being away from my husband, and we were both looking for a new not a new start, but we wanted a quality of life,
a change of direction,
total change of direction. So and then my dad turned. We were talking, and he would love me to have the salon, and it was something that I've resisted for the last 20 years. People keep saying, "So when are you going to open your salon? When are you going to open a salon?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to do that." And suddenly this had this light bulb moment, and I thought, "Do you know what? I'm really happy doing this." It's like it felt like I was in control of what I was doing, and I actually fell in love with hairdressing again. That was it, cutting hair and stuff like that. So
so often, Paul, I mean, I'm a great believer. I don't believe you go backwards in life. I think you go forwards. And I think when you rediscover something from your past like this, that was there so many years ago, then it means that it's time for you to be able to look at your life differently. It's time for you to be able to change your life. And so I think doing this that you're doing now, I mean, I've known you for many, many years. I am just as excited about you going into the salon and working like you're doing as much as I was about you going to movies and television, because I know this is an incredible transition for you and your partner, you and your husband in a new way.
And I think for me, I feel like I'm 18 again. I really do. I have that enthusiasm for hair cutting again and colouring and doing all the stuff that I've actually missed. Because I've been doing so much styling and stuff like that. And so I'm re-educating myself as well. And so, I'm really excited. I'm so excited.
It's brilliant, Paul. And just tell the viewers where the salon is so they all know where it is.
Oh, it's in a little village.
It's a
just
beautiful little village.
Beautiful village called Greyshot. Yeah, the salon's Andrew Paul. And, we're onwards and upwards, really. It's a lovely little salon, and
of course the only way that Randy and I can remember where you are is we have to think of Greystoke.
Greystoke, exactly.
Greystoke,
yes.
Greystoke.
It's always Greyshot.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a beautiful little village.
I mean, both Randy and I wish you nothing but success. I know that many of my viewers will wish you every success as well. Please, to the viewers out there watching, do watch the first half of the show. I've done a special little combination sort of video of the things, and sadly, just as technology always does, it lets us down at the last second. But luckily you were here and we were able to continue on with our interview. So for those of you watching, please go back into the archive of my Facebook and look at Paul's first interview as well, where he talks about those years of Strictly Come Dancing, and of course those formative years of his career. Paul, it's always a pleasure to touch base with
thank you, Patrick. Thanks for having me back.
Are you crazy?
Very honoured.
I love having you on the show. You know what? And I just want to wish lots and lots of love to your husband, Eve, and of course to your mum and dad. And I know they're going to be watching this as well at some point. And to all of my viewers out there, Paul, I just want to say a huge thank you. So guys, thank you, Paul. Stay on the line. I'm going to talk to you after this, but I'm going to say thank you, Paul, and we'll see you soon. So guys, thank you so much for joining me for a conversation with Patrick, where I try, Randy and I, we both try to bring you things that we think you would be interested in. And it's just nice listening to other people's stories about their life and what they're doing. So stay tuned for next week. We're looking at guests for our next week. We'll let you know on our Facebook channel. And again, next Wednesday, we'll be doing a conversation with Patrick at 7 o'clock. But of course, tune in every single Monday for Education in Isolation, where we're on Facebook and Instagram at 10:30 UK time every single week, sharing with you new ideas of how to work with long hair. So guys, to all of you out there, I want to wish you the very best. Randy and I leave for London again tomorrow to return home, back to our house there, but we've had a fantastic time here in Oxford. So anybody here in Oxford, thank you. We've loved your city. It's beautiful. So guys, all the very best, and we'll see you very soon.